Welcome back to Usapang Bayan. Kasama pa rin natin ang former DILG Secretary natin, si Raffy Alunan, at ipagpapatuloy ni Rach ang kanyang mga tanong.
Yes, sir. We are all aware naman po na ang ngayon ay pinakamainit po talaga ay yung laglag bala scheme. What's your stand on that issue po? Kasi po, parang recently lang, you issued a statement na you called the government or Secretary Coloma stupid for downplaying the issue, right?
You know, first of all, I'd like to say, Sonny Coloma is a friend of mine. No, and actually, when I read the news report and the headline, I didn't read the name of Sonny Coloma. No, so I was really referring to the remark as a stupid remark,
yes.
not the person, because I never really go after the person. I go after the action or you know the act itself. That said, you know, this laglag bala thing may appear small in the eyes of the government authorities, but it's affecting our ordinary passengers, or returning OFWs.
Yes.
Our image in the international...
The image, you know, our reputation is at stake here, no? Because even foreigners are impacted.
Yes.
Seniors are impacted. I saw a picture of a Lola that was handcuffed because they found a bullet, no? And she was a returning OFW. How can we do that, right? This is really abuse. It's abuse and it's extortion. It's a crime. It's I call it national sabotage, because even if it's just one bullet, but there are many that are being impacted, and it gets to the news, you can be sure that you know, in today's digital world, news travels fast around the globe. And Time Magazine and BBC already talked about it, videoed it, and the UN weighed in, and they also issued a statement, no? So, it's just appalling that our government authorities are slow on the uptake or simply don't have the right stuff. They don't think properly, no? If this was the Ramos administration, okay, we would have already, the president, being the president, and knowing that this is a major issue, would have asked the secretary in charge, what have you done? And if that secretary can't show anything concrete to have done something about the problem, he'd get relieved. And then he'd relieve everybody else down below that's involved in that chain. Now, in this particular case, we're looking at the Office of Transport Security that's in charge of this. And if you were to look at the committee that looks after the OTS, my God, it's a long list of people that should be held accountable, starting with the Secretary of DOTC, Secretary of DILG, no, and then the general managers of the airports concerned, you know, where all of this is happening. They should be held accountable and responsible for all of this. But nothing of that has been happening. So it's not just that chain of command that's the problem. It starts with the president. He hasn't done anything about it. It's only after this whole thing broke out in the open and the international news agency started weighing in on it that he called for a meeting. Now, I don't know whether that meeting is considered effective action. Anybody can meet, but what people are asking for are results.
Yes.
They want the syndicate to be broken. They want to put an end to this, and we want to redeem our reputation.
Talking about the laglag bala, may I ask for your opinion or your position on the current issue on firearms licensing, particularly for the legitimate gun owners who have been disenfranchised because right now it's so difficult to renew or to get your license to own and possess firearms, no?
Yeah.
And you as a reservist as well need to have those firearms, no, for your work and also for your protection. What is your position on that?
George, before I answer that, I just want to add that this laglag bala thing could also be a diversion because there are a lot of things happening in the airport, in our international gateways, that's really harming the country, like drugs, drug smuggling, and smuggling of other stuff, It's impacting not only in the economy, but it's impacting on society itself. no? This could be a diversionary tactic, especially at this time when it's election time and people are looking forward for to change the leadership. They're probably trying to suppress this. I just want to make it clear that we haven't lost sight of the fact that there are many crimes happening in the airport, and it's not just like Bala. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now, going to your question, I think that the Philippine National Police should revisit the rules. No, they should make it easier, more convenient, and affordable to legitimate gun owners. Because to begin with, they can't protect everybody. And it's a good thing that there are citizens that are willing and able to protect themselves, right? So they should even be considered as deputies of the police, you know, because they can protect their own homes without
Relying on the police force.
relying on the police that's already stretched thin, right? That's number one. Number two, the affordability of it, no? Aside from the fact that there are too many steps that have involved and requiring so much time, no, it's also very expensive, no. Every year, I think the fees are increasing. It's becoming people are saying this is no longer funny because they're probably making this a business already for themselves.
That's right.
Which should not be, no, because at the end of the day, we should look at this as a means to improve our public safety environment, where people who are legitimate and are qualified to protect themselves are able to help the police.
Actually, if I may add, even the transport of firearms, let's say, so that you can train in the use of your legitimate firearm to go to the shooting range, even that is so difficult to get.
To obtain,
To obtain, and to me, it's always a good idea for the citizenry to be able to learn how to shoot their weapons properly.
That's correct.
And at the same time, when it comes to the citizenry being able to be part of the armed forces, no, then you need to have people or reserve officers and enlisted personnel that know how to use
That's
their
correct.
firearms.
Actually, the red tape is counterproductive because when they opened the doors anyway to firearms holders, they said you can own more than two, provided that the extra firearms are registered under a gun club, right? So obviously, if it's registered in a gun club, you're going to use it for training purposes.
No. I think right now, you can have it registered under your own name now.
Yes.
And they have the type 1, 2, 3, and 4 types of firearms, depending on how many
Correct.
registered firearms you have. But I think what they should do is, if you recall before, the extension of your house is your car. So technically, if you take your firearm in your car to go to the shooting range, then you're fine. You didn't need to have a specific transport permit for that.
As long as you keep it in your car.
Of course.
But if the moment you bring it down from
Oh,
your car, you're
yeah.
going to need that permit.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, if they're going to give you that permit anyway to own for purposes of going to the shooting range, they shouldn't make it difficult for you to transport it to the shooting range. Otherwise, it's counterproductive. It doesn't make sense. But the problem there is, I don't think they want to prevent. I think the problem is the red tape. No, there's just so much red tape, and they have to look into that and cut it.
Sir, if you were the appointed DILG secretary po during the height of the Mama Sapano incident and the Yolanda devastation, how would you address the situation?
Differently. As
In
soon
what
as
way?
I learned, well, first of all, I would have complained to the president. That's as soon as I found out that the chief of the PNP, who was taken offline, is still managing the operation.
Directing it.
Yeah, directing it. I would have objected because we had a chain of command, and that chain of command has to be respected. If anything goes wrong, it's a chain of command that gets accountable. They're held responsible and accountable, not the one that's offline. Okay, that's number one. Number two, as soon as I would have found out that there was a bloody confrontation going on, okay, I would have requested in forceful terms for immediate reinforcements, no, from the military. Because the usapan in Mindanao is actually in situations like those where you have confrontations with an organized group, combat group, the military takes the lead. In matters of law enforcement, of course, the police take the lead, but supported by the military. In this particular case, it was very special. The PNP, Special Action Force, were following the rules. Maybe 10 times. And each time that they coordinated with the armed forces and the monitoring body in the area, that they had this mission. The mission had to be aborted because it leaked. The information leaked. Finally, they said, we're going to inform based on time on target, TOT. As soon as we launch, that's when we inform. Okay. Well, yeah, so that was carried out, right? Unfortunately, there was a firefight. And the people on the ground called in to say, we need help. They called in the morning. By the time they were killed and finished off, it was perhaps mid-afternoon. So a lot of time had lapsed. During that time, several things could have happened. Number one, Secretary of National Defense and the Secretary of Interior and Local Government should have recommended immediately to the President to intervene, to call the MILF, to call the monitoring body, and to give the instructions to the AFP. Right? First to the MILF, that's a legitimate mission, stop it, or I'll run after you hammer and tongs. I don't care if we have a peace agreement. You are breaking our... You're not a peace partner at the rate you're acting. Okay, that's number one. Number two, report to the monitoring body what's happening. And number three, instruct the armed forces, go in there right now and rescue those guys. Use the armor, use artillery, use your aircraft, helicopter gunships. Do everything to protect those guys. That's the way it would have been done.
How about in the case of Tacloban? How would you have handled that situation?
Well, to begin with, Secretary of Interior and Local Government, the ND Secretary, and the other secretaries who were there because they were instructed by the President. The President my President, President Ramos, would never have instructed policymakers who are supposed to be manning their posts in Camp Aguinaldo to be frontliners and expose them to and get them into harm's way, Because otherwise, if they're dead, what good will they be in Camp Aguinaldo?
Leadership, yeah.
No more leadership, right? So that was the first mistake. The second mistake was, I guess, playing politics. In a disaster, you serve everybody, whether they're your political enemies or not. These are victims, And third, you have to make sure that you serve with dispatch. No matter how difficult the challenge is, you've got to move heaven and earth to bring comfort, hope, and relief to the people there who were totally devastated. I think one can say that not enough was done along those lines.
Well, at this point, we need to have a station break. At sa ating pagbabalik, makakasama pa rin natin ang ating former DILG Secretary, Raffy Alunan.
Oh.